Good morning, you strange and wonderful weirdos. I'm John.
I'm Stacey.
It's Friday. Thank God. December 16th. And here's why. Today is strange.
All right. So let's start off with a bit of an update about those JFK files that the deadline passed yesterday.
Oh, yeah. How'd that go for you?
So they released more documents. So they have released an additional 12,879 documents. But it does say an additional 515 have been withheld by the archives in full, and 2,545 were partially withheld. But there was a big, huge dump of more documents. Now, President Biden has ordered the acting archivist, Deborah Steidel-Wall, to conduct a 6-month review of a subset of the remaining redacted records to ensure that they're also disclosed to the greatest extent possible. So, like, even though they're redacted, perhaps just make sure that that's doesn't have to be, they can't release anything else. So 6 months she has to do that. It does say that at Biden's request, there were transparency plans that also had to be released by any agencies that were still withholding related documents that explain generally the kind of files that have not been released and why.
So partially released sounds like just the tip. Listen to me, baby. Just listen to me, baby. Mm-hmm. It won't even affect it. Just a tip. You won't. I mean, I understand there's a lot of discomforting in these releases. I get it. I do. But if we just release just a little bit, that ain't gonna hurt nobody now, is it?
Well, it isn't going to hurt you.
That's true.
It does say that the focus of the document drop was the CIA's 80-volume personality file for Lee Harvey Oswald. They did it in quotes, personality file for Lee Harvey Oswald. And
you mean the Lee Harvey Oswald that was a CIA operative?
Yes, that assassinated Kennedy. It was him that did it all by himself. The file includes information that the CIA gathered on Oswald before and after the Kennedy attack. Also information on Oswald's trip to Mexico City. And then in this one article, it says it also includes a CIA veteran's apparent conflict of interest will also be released. Now, that CIA veteran is the one that we spoke about the other day, the George Joanides. So the investigator that was hoping that these files of his that would be released, apparently they have been released. The Jefferson Morley, he's the one we spoke about the other day. Now, George Joanides, we talked about having, the files. He served as the spy agency's liaison to a special House committee in the 70s that reinvestigated the Kennedy murder. And later on, House staff members were really upset because they learned that he had a blatant conflict of interest in that investigation because they didn't know that he worked as a spy for things to do with Fidel Castro. And, there was a lot of links there. So could be some interesting stuff. I don't have any reports on what's in the actual document drop. I guess nobody's had time since it just happened, on Thursday. Nobody's had time to rifle through all the documents.
Somebody's had time. I guarantee you they're rifling all. That's not really the best use of words for the JFK story.
I guess not. I'm sorry. They're looking over.
So what you're saying, though, is there's absolutely more than one person rifling through.
Oh, absolutely.
No way it's
a coordinated effort, I'm sure.
No way it's just one person rifling through those documents.
Right.
Because that'd be
silly.
There's no way.
It'd be impossible.
I've seen people try to go through documents like that, and I've seen it. So it's kind of like, if you use the documents kind of like this.
Right. I don't know. The angle seems wrong.
From this distance, the angle just doesn't seem right, does it? You would almost have to be rifling from there.
Right.
And from over here.
To get the full effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
Huh.
Interesting. Well, there may be more updates to that story as, the investigators investigate into that. The article I read claims that there probably wasn't anything, mind-blowing or super revealing, but you never know. It's all about making the connections and seeing the minor details.
Too bad there wasn't a. Too bad it was the year it was, and there wasn't a camera there on the dashboard. Turn around, looking at the,
Right.
I think you'd see a certain driver do something crazy, probably, maybe. Who knows?
There's no telling.
A lot of theories.
All right, shall we move on?
We better.
Okay, so let's move on to the story about the Nazca line.
Nazca line.
Yes, so
you don't get visited from Men in Black over Nazca line.
No, a Japanese research team has discovered over 160 new Nazca lines.
Yes, they have.
Yes, so now last year...
It's insane, too.
Oh, I know. Last year, in an article, an archaeologist in Peru has told a newspaper that it was his belief that scientists had only found about 5% of all the Nazca lines. And that seems like a very small number, but we get these articles all the time where there are new ones from the aerial surveys and the drones, and now they're using AI to help find these new Nazca lines.
What kind of AI? Not that ornery ass going to kill you AI, is it?
No, just computers. All
right.
They're just feeding the data through the computers.
Actually, listen, I recently went down this rabbit hole that she's currently talking about, and it was insane. Some of the new, and I know you've got more of a story to come. I'm not going to pop that for you, but just saying, there's a lot of things that were insane to me because of some of the things they found. At first, when I knew they were finding new Nazca lines, I was like, oh, it's probably going to be like a couple circles or something. And
there's
actually some pretty daggone
claims they found 168 new geoglyphs, and roughly 50 of those large-scale ones were human-like figures. And some of the humanoid illustrations, it says, even appear to be sporting some facial hair, maybe. And there were other features like birds, orcas, cats, snakes. It does say a few are just simple lines, trapezoid patterns and things. But for the most part, it sounds like these new ones, there's a lot of actual complex pictures. And so they used, like I said, they used drone surveys, aerial images. They did try to use a little bit of AI.
I think a lot of the people around that area, traditionally, they don't have a lot of facial hair, do they?
Not that I'm aware of. Now, I can't say for sure that it's facial hair. It says it appeared like they had. So, that's the way that they, I guess,
there's some other
interpreted
places like that in the world where there's some people that are depicted with facial hair and they never had. I don't know. It's strange.
It is. It's very odd. Very odd. Now, they estimate that the geoglyphs were created around 100 BC to 300 AD, and they're just judging that based on some clay pots that were found nearby. So, honestly, they could be much, much older, and someone just happened to walk by, and they were surprised at all these geoglyphs and dropped their clay pots. Like, oh my gosh, look at that. And then...
makes sense to me.
Who knows? We don't really know how old they are.
Yeah.
But
just because you find some random goo on the ground doesn't mean that's how old everything is. I mean, it just doesn't. And the thing I like is how pissed off they get about stones. You know?
Because you can't date the stone.
Can't date the stones.
Daggone it.
I love that. But I mean, the thing about archaeology is these cats know what they're talking about. I lived so much of my life in archaeology. You have no idea. History and archaeology. Ask poor Stacey, because if she wakes up at any time of the night,
it's an archaeological video.
Yes, it is. And the thing about it is, recently I was watching a dig, and the place it was happening, they dug up a lump of dirt, right? Mm-hmm. And a guy actually knew what year coin it was. There was nothing that showed this was a coin.
Right.
It just happened to be the way it was hammered out. Mm-hmm. Not only that, it was Roman and stuff, but what it was, when it was, why it was. Mm-hmm. Just from the size and the...
Right, and the area they found it and stuff.
Well, no, it had nothing to do with the area they found it.
Oh, so he just knew.
A long way away.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's like when we watch Oak Island and the metal detector, Gary Drayton, he just picks stuff up and it's all crusted in dirt stuff. He's like, oh yeah, that's and he'll just know what it is.
It's kind of like that.
So strange.
Except this is impressive.
Well, yeah, that's historical, but still, it's still impressive to me.
He didn't say anything cool and nifty afterwards. The guy said, "Oh wow, you know that?" And he just goes, "Mm-hmm."
Very confident in his assessment.
I was over on him.
All right, let's move on and talk about this story from British Columbia.
British Columbia.
Yes, so this is about dozens and dozens of crows that were found dead in central Burnaby. The headline of the article is calling it a murder mystery.
Wow. No.
They did. That's the headline.
You can't pun in a dead bird story.
Apparently they did. So some visitors to the Central Valley Greenway near Still Creek were confronted by a morbid sight over the weekend, a large number of dead crows. Now, one of the residents named Paul Sipowinick told the newspaper that he was walking across the Greenway on Monday and he saw a dead crow. Like he saw one. And then as he went on, he saw another one and he kept seeing them over and over and over. He said he saw well over a dozen. Now, they spoke to a man that had a similar experience the day before, and he was biking in the area, and he claims that he saw several of them as well, and he got off his bike to take a look around, and he saw more in the bushes. He saw some of them huddled together in like pairs and trios, but there was probably several dozen. Like he saw a lot. Now, the first gentleman, Sippy Winnick, he reported that most of the birds were on the south side of Still Creek. He only saw one on the other side of the creek. So like all on one side of the creek, just scattered about. They have no idea what's happened to them. They did report it.
There's something bad about the south side of the creek?
No idea. The British Columbia Wild Bird Mortality Investigation Program. They've reported it to them. They claim that...
Wait.
Yes.
What was the name of that group again?
It was the British Columbia Wild Bird Mortality Investigation Program.
I wonder how often their phone rings.
Not sure.
You think the guy has a uniform and everything? Like, it's like, Tony, you down there? You're not playing that Nintendo again, are you? Tony, they called for you. Yeah, there's some dead birds down there on that south side.
They told him that avian flu was likely not the cause.
Merry Christmas.
But they have not ruled that out. But they don't think that that's the cause of it. Now, Sipowinick described... I'm sorry.
Maybe cold weather or...
Maybe. He described the sight of the dead birds as eerie, and he noted that there was a murder of live crows, a bunch of live crows, in the trees that he felt were behaving oddly. He said that the crows up in the trees were very quiet.
They're being racist. I don't know what it was. Damn crows.
He said, in my experience, if crows see a dead crow, they tend to be very concerned and make a lot of ruckus and wonder what's going on because they're very social birds. He said these birds were just sitting up in the trees in complete and total silence. So he didn't know if they were also sick or what was going on, but that it was incredibly eerie that they were all just sitting there and looking down at the dead birds. So, I don't know.
God crows.
It's a very specific location and a very odd mystery. Murder mystery.
So you think the crows killed the other crows?
I don't know.
They're like,
I don't think crows do that.
They were like, shh, boys, here he comes. Act normal.
Act natural.
Don't say a damn word. He's looking at us, boss. Just sit here and stare back.
Maybe. I don't know. It's very strange.
It is strange.
All right. Are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to a story about something that has never, ever happened before.
Come on, the racist crows.
Talk about from Dumbo.
Yes, the Dumbo.
Dumbo. Yes. All right. So this is something that has never, ever happened before. So at the World Cup this year, no British fans were arrested. And this is something that has never happened in the history of the World Cup. What are we on, the 21st, 22nd World Cup? And this is the first time that no British fans were arrested.
I have a follow-up question.
The World Cup. What's that?
Were there any British fans there?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Another question.
Yes.
Are there any British fans missing currently?
Not that I'm aware of. The Chief Constable Mark Roberts of the Cheshire Police said that it is the first time that no fans from the UK were arrested at the World Cup, that the behavior of England and Wales out in Qatar was absolutely exemplary. They even
Much better than what Qatar was.
They even sent UK officers traveled out there for the work that they did in help keeping the British nationals safe. And they did a great job. And he said traditionally they have a few arrests every year, but zero is just something they've never seen before.
To be fair, nobody in their right mind from England wants to be arrested in Saudi Arabia.
It does say that this is the first World Cup without free-flowing alcohol.
Yeah.
And this is probably one of the reasons, although they wouldn't admit that this was the reason that there were no arrests.
Was the curved sword. Curved swords.
He claimed Roberts wouldn't concede that it was due to the lack of alcohol, but he was suggesting that perhaps that might have had something to do with it. There was supposed to be able to be alcohol there, but 2 days before the tournament, Qatar, the FIFA announced no alcohol at the stadium.
Yep. And you know what? People didn't really complain to the country. Something to be said for...
Right.
I mean, come on.
I mean, they do serve alcohol at like hotels and like pubs and places where it's licensed to, but still nothing at the actual, So, I do know a little bit of geography. Qatar's not in Saudi Arabia, right?
I mean... It borders it. It was just sometimes I go with the more well-known person to kind of, like I wouldn't, like if it was a story about Sonny Bono, I'd probably say, Sonny and Cher.
I see.
Anyway.
So you go for the more well-known thing. I gotcha. All right. So are you ready to go for this last story?
I am so ready.
You think you're ready. You're not ready.
Oh, no.
All right. So this is a story from Australia. And it's about a new study where scientists have finally found clitorises on female snakes. So it turns out that this shatters a long-held assumption that the female snakes do not have a sexual organ. Now, they claim that snake penises have been studied for decades. They're forked. Some of them are forked. Some are embedded with spikes. They know all kinds of stuff about it. But the female sex organ has been overlooked in comparison. And they say it wasn't necessarily that it was elusive. Rather, scientists weren't really looking for it. It's a combination of it being a little bit taboo and the fact that, they just couldn't find it. So... A nice lady named Megan Falwell, she's a doctoral candidate and the lead researcher, co-authored a paper that was published in the Proceedings of the Royal Society Bee Journal this week that claims she has located it in the female snake's tail. She thought that it was an interesting problem because the literature she had read about the snake's female sexual organs, that they didn't have them or they'd been bred out, just didn't sit right with her. She didn't feel like that was a true statement. So she started on a death adder, and lo and behold, there it was. She found it, just right in the tail. She said she found it pretty immediately, actually. And there was a variety of snakes that they checked. They dissected a total of 9 species, including the carpet python, a puff adder, a viper. And they said it varied in size, but it was very distinct. And now this allows for new theories about snake sex. Now, until now, they believed that it was mostly about coercion, about the male snake just forcing himself because the males were typically physically aggressive while the female snake just sort of sat there kind of placid. Maybe the male snake couldn't find it either. I don't know. But that is not going to be the case anymore. Now they have a whole new way to look at it. And she said that there was a positive reception to finding it in the science world, in the snake science world. There was a bit of shock that it had been missed for so long, but also surprise because it makes so much sense that it exists. So there you are. Female snakes have clitorises. And when the male snake wraps around it, that's what he's doing. He's not forcing himself on, they're foreplaying. Thoughts? Have any thoughts? This is an amazing find. No words, huh? I can't believe that science went that long without ever even noticing. I don't know. New find.
We'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend. And, happy anniversary, baby.
Aw, happy anniversary, sweetheart.
I love you.
I love you too.
December 18th. We won't be here with you, but I'll be doing a little snake hunting. And that's why today is strange.